That needs more sugar in it. Hi, hello. My name is Steph. Welcome to another video. I was just drinking a matcha latte that I made for myself, but I did not add enough sweetener, so it's a little bit bitter. So I might fix that in a moment, but in today's video, we are not reviewing tea or my ability to make it. We are going to be talking about my fall or autumn TBR. I am super basic in that I love autumn, I love fall, because I can fully lean into all of my favorite like really gothic, spooky vibes, the cozy vibes. And then if we throw in like a little bit of anguish and angst, I eat that up. That is gonna be the theme, the feels of this TBR video. And I'm so excited to share some of these books with you. Most of them are new releases. And then a few of them are, I think, like kind of well-known older books that I am like the last person on BookTube to read. And a lot of them are like kind of creepy and really having a horror moment. I have been like mentally in fall mode since the end of probably July. So we are going full tilt, but I can't read like exclusively scary or creepy books. I really need to have like a constant changeover of like the type of books that I'm reading, or else I get into a total slump. Okay, so I will have some like kind of cozy, fun, more relaxed things to read in this video as well. So the first one is actually, I think it's out now, like as of like a week ago. And that is The Vampires of El Norte, this one. And this is a historical horror novel that is set in like the 1840s in Mexico. It follows a woman named Nena, her and her childhood friend, Nestor. And so these two, they grew up together, and apparently, according to the blurb, they are out one day and she is attacked by a vampire, and he believes that she has died. And so he is like just full of grief and takes off basically and never comes back. But of course, she survives the attack. Then the story takes place 9 years later when Nestor returns home and realizes that she's still alive. So they're dealing with all of the feelings of, oh my God, you're alive. Oh my God, you left me. But the threat of the vampires is ever present. And there is another looming threat, which is a colonial force coming down, I think, from the US. So I'm really excited about this book. I think sounds like there's just so many different elements that I will just eat up. I really loved her book, The Hacienda, which I thought she used a lot of these classic gothic horror elements really interestingly to explore some of the issues that were left behind after colonialism. So I'm kind of anticipating a lot of depth from this novel as well. And I'm just so excited to pick up this book. Also, the cover is beautiful. Have you seen it? Like, I'm assuming I will put it up here, but it is so pretty. It just paints such an image, and I just can't wait to get into this story. Okay, the next book is Rouge by Mona Awad. I have been anticipating this for so long. I have now read, I think, all of Mona Awad's backlist. I'm dying to read this one, and it comes out on September 12th. Rouge, I am expecting kind of like a horror-tinted gothic fairy tale vibe. Back copy says that for as long as she can remember, Belle has been insidiously obsessed with skin and skincare videos. When her estranged mother, Noelle, mysteriously dies, Belle finds herself back in Southern California, dealing with her mother's considerable debt and lingering questions about her death. The stakes escalate when a strange woman in red appears at the funeral, offering a tantalizing clue about her mother's demise, followed by a cryptic video about a transformative spa experience. So it's about this like culty beauty spa thing called La Maison de Méduse. And it's described as Snow White meets Eyes Wide Shut, which I have not watched Eyes Wide Shut. I'm really excited about this one because I also recently read Natural Beauty, which I thought was a really interesting critique of beauty culture. And I really love Mona Awad's writing style as well. It's kind of a little hypnotic at certain points and like fever dream-esque. She really knows how to play with magical realism and all of the tropes and devices associated with that, so that when you're reading it, you're just constantly questioning yourself and like what is real, what is not, and questioning the characters. And I'm just so excited for this one, and I feel like it's such a great way to like enter fall. I'm gonna be at the bookstore the release day for sure. they better have it. Another book that I am so excited to read comes out on 19th of September, and that's A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I follow the author on her Instagram, and I'm completely sold just based on the aesthetic. It's all like dark, moody estates by the seaside and like the wind ripping through your hair, rivals to lovers, old manuscripts. I think this is supposed to be like academic rivals to lovers. In this book, we're supposed to follow a girl named Effie, who is an architecture student, and she grew up as a child really obsessed with a book about the Fae. She is like haunted by like visions of the Fairy King. So fast forward to the present, she's an architecture student who wins a contest to redesign the home that belonged to the author of her favorite book that was about the Fairy King. She goes there totally gung-ho for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and of course when she arrives, not all is as it seems. It's a little bit disappointing as well, except for the very handsome academic rival, a literature scholar who is there trying to prove that her favorite author was a fraud. They're just both there, immersed in everything that the author left behind, his whole legacy, the manuscripts, the papers, the house. Meanwhile, dark forces are at play and conspiring against them. I'm so excited because I have fun reading Fae books, but you know, after a little while, you kind of want something that's a little bit different. And I think that this will be quite fun because, first of all, it seems like the Fae are the villains, like very clearly the villains. And it also feels like Fae with gothic. I don't know if that's been done before. So I think that will be I'm giving my thumbs up because I think it will be a really great book. But I guess we're gonna find out. 10th of October. I am super, super looking forward to Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare because we have a non-Shadowhunter book. What? And it's also her adult debut. This is a high fantasy, and I really don't know a whole lot about it, except that it's in a city-state named Castellane, where magic is forbidden, and we're following an orphan named Kel because it wouldn't be a high fantasy if our main character wasn't named Kel and also orphaned. But this guy named Kel is a body double for the prince, and that position is called a sword catcher. We're also supposed to follow another character named Lynn, who is a magic user. She uses her magic to heal people, and then these two, their paths collide, presumably. Together, they uncover the dark past of the city. So I think that'll be a really interesting, fun read. I'm kind of curious in the transition from YA to adult, like how that will be. Like, is everybody gonna just be even more of an edgelord, if that's possible, than the guys in the Shadowhunter series, or is there gonna be like a little bit more depth? Because I feel like some authors who try and make that transition after having a very established career in YA struggle a little bit. So I don't know, I'm gonna find that really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a shot. I had to reposition us slightly because the sun is coming in, it's really hot, and I can tell that it's very bright. So one of my most anticipated fantasies of the year is gonna be coming out on 19th of October, and that is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the sequel and the conclusion to the duology by this author. I read the first book in this series at the very beginning of the year, and it was incredible. It really blew me away because of how she blends gothic and fantasy together so seamlessly. You kind of get all of the elements that you're looking for and that I love the most out of both, and they're just like mashed together. It's so good. But the series follows a woman named Elsipeth who joins a group of rather mysterious characters, including a king's, I think he's a nephew, on a quest to gather Providence cards, which are essentially tarot cards that bestow the owner of it some kind of magical power that's associated with that card. For example, you can have the Maiden card, which makes the woman very beautiful, but, or, man, whatever. But of course, that magic always comes at a price. But the point of these Providence cards is when all of the 12 are united, they're supposed to basically rid the town of this mist, which has been, it's mist-locked, the description says. Because it's really hard to pass through it. It seems like it's kind of haunted. There's monsters. And so this town is really isolated from the rest of the world. And the other dimension of this book that I really, really enjoyed is there is another character living in Elsipeth's head called the Nightmare. And we don't in book one know who that is, by the end of book one, we definitely know who that is. And so she is always kind of struggling to keep control and to keep boundaries with that creature. Book one ended on such a cliffhanger. I really don't know how we're gonna get like a happy ending for these characters, or like not even a happy ending, but like a marginally good one for them. And so I'm really rooting for them. I'm really invested, and I don't know what's gonna happen next. I'm so excited. On Halloween itself, October 31st, I am going to be picking up a season of Monstrous Conceptions. This is a novella that is like an eldritch historical fantasy. It's about a midwife's apprentice named Sarah, who is pretty much trying to work out a mystery about the infants that have been born lately, because there have been kind of strange otherworldly features. It's set during the 17th century in London, and so some of the babies that are being born have like webbed fingers, eyes that are like adapted for the dark instead of like normally developed human eyes. There's something creepy, and I have suspicions that the main character Sarah is not completely human either. She is drawn into this web of magic and intrigue and probably a bit of horror, and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Additionally, I have Slewfoot. I've had this for a little while. I got it on sale fairly recently, and actually not that recently anymore. I think I've had this for like a year. I feel like this is especially good for fall, just especially as we're gearing up for Halloween and like creepy season, because this follows a witch. Also, look at that art. It's beautiful. Okay. This one is set in Connecticut, 1666, 666. I just noticed that actually. I feel very clever. It says, an ancient spirit awakens in a dark wood. The wild folk call him the Father, Slayer, Protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, a demon, a devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one that she can turn to for help. Together they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in its wake. Sounds really good to me. Then there's a proclamation. If it is the devil you seek, then it is a devil you shall have. And then it's written by an artist, so there's like tons of art inside, which I love. I think that's super fun. So I think it'll be really interesting. I have some suspicions who is the healer, the destroyer, protector, or the predator in this book, but I guess we're gonna have to read it and see if I'm right. Up next, I want to read Mary, An Awakening of Terror. This book, I keep seeing it come up for a lot of different people, especially horror readers. As I understand it, it is supposed to be a novel about a middle-aged woman who is having like visions or dreams of specters, and then she begins auto-writing, and she moves back home to her hometown and is trying to like figure out what is going on and why is she experiencing this, and whose words are they? And then the back cover says that the auto writing is writing from a serial killer who has died, and then suddenly the deaths begin happening again, like the murders begin happening again. It sounds really creepy and like exciting. I haven't read a book with auto writing in it ever. I don't know if I've ever read a book with that. I don't think so. So I'm really curious like what that's gonna be like. Yeah, this is just my favorite kind of horror, where there's like a bit of a blend between reality and the fantastical. We don't know what's real, what's not, and maybe there's a paranormal influence coming in, but we're gonna have to find out. This was recommended by Michaela at Michaela Reads, and I really trust her opinion. She said this is great, so we're gonna go find out. The next book, I decided I want to try manga. I've actually wanted to try this for quite some time, and I thought it might be fun to give it a shot with a story that I'm already a little bit familiar with. And I have a really funny story about this actually, because I picked up the Frankenstein version by Junji Ito, and you will notice on this book, it has this little sticker, unsuitable for the young. And I left the plastic on because I just find it absolutely hysterical. And so I saw this when I was like buying it in the store, and I have never seen that on a book before. And I was thinking like, is this like actually a porno? Like what is so like horrific in this novel that it must be a controlled substance? And so I just thought like, okay, like whatever, I'm walking around the bookstore with my unsuitable book. And then I go to checkout, and I was using the self-checkout, and it flagged people to come over and like check my ID to make sure I wasn't young. And they didn't check my ID, so I guess I'm not young. But I just thought that was a really funny and like strange experience to have with a book. If any of you have experienced this, or even just seen like a sticker on this, like on anything other than like a porn magazine, let me know, because I found this bizarre. I found this completely bizarre, because you would have thought that I was buying like an illegal substance, or a controlled substance. Junji Ito is a controlled substance. God, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly as well. Frankenstein, if you don't know, is a book that was written by Mary Shelley, the original goth girl, about a scientist who wants to create life. And so he rounds up a bunch of pieces of dead bodies, assembles them, and sparks it to life with some electrical current, and then he abandons the monster or the creature that he creates, and then we witness a lot of the despair and the confusion and the violence that ensues, and are kind of forced to question who is truly the monster in this situation. But the back says, the master of horror manga blends all his skills into bringing the anguished, I'm trying to read through the plastic, it's like a little wrinkled, the anguished and solitary monster and the fouler beast who created him and brought him to life, with the brilliantly detailed chiaroscuro for which he is known. Also included are 6 tales of the Oshikiri. I do not know what that is or who that is. A high school student who lives in a decaying mansion connected to a haunted and parallel world. I've lost my ability to talk. Uncanny doppelgangers, unfortunately, murdered friends, and uncanny doppelgangers, unfortunately murdered friends, and a whole lot more is in store for him. A whole lot more are, I think that there's actually some grammatical issues here. But anyway, very excited about this one, and I am leaving the plastic on until I'm like actually gonna read it, and then I might like cut out that sticker just because I found it so funny. Frankenstein, Junji Ito, manga. I also want to read Night Bitch. Actually, you can tell I am currently reading Night Bitch. I started it like last night because I really couldn't wait any longer, and I don't know if you have ever experienced it, like where like the mood strikes you, it's like a craving, and you're like, the time has come, I need to binge read that book. So I'm like almost halfway through, and this is a great fun book. I'm loving every second of it. I would love to just sit down and like read the entire thing in one sitting, but I just don't have that kind of time. This book pretty much follows a lonely, exhausted mom who begins discovering a really strange like patches of hair, her canines are getting sharp, things feel weird. And the back says, one day the mother was a mother, but then one night she was quite suddenly something else. So this is an incredibly bizarre, weird, strange, fabulous book so far. I love this kind of commentary, and I feel like Rachel Yoder, the author, is doing a really good job with it and really pulling it off, rather than it being just like a really absurd romp that doesn't really make sense. It's really tight and it makes sense. Her point is being made effectively. That's what I feel so far. Additionally, I would like to read Not Good for Maidens. This is like a horror fantasy retelling of Christina Rossetti's poem, I believe it is, Goblin Market. I remember growing up and like seeing this poem on my mom's shelf, and I don't think I really read it. It just sounds really unique to me and really, really interesting. We follow a young woman named Lou who's drawn into a goblin market because one of her relatives, like a teenage sister or aunt or something like this, somebody she loves has been abducted by the goblins, and she is trying to get them back before time runs out. And it was pitched as Salem's Lot meets the darkest part of the forest. So that's a mashup of Stephen King and Holly Black, which I can't really imagine a world where that would not work for me. Like horror and then like Holly Black, who I just don't shut up about. Sounds really good. Okay, another book that I am curious and like a little hesitant about, but I've decided that I really want to give it a shot, is One for My Enemy by Olivie Blake. I keep seeing this come up and it just sounds like a really nice fall book, like a nice cozy one, like that I might want to pick up after reading Mary about serial killers and auto writing and creepy ghosts. Because this one is set in New York about two rival witch clans, I believe. And there's like two sisters on one side and then two brothers on the other side, like Romeo and Juliet style, I think. And, you know, two. And so they've always kind of been in tension, and then something happens that breaks the tension and they are suddenly at each other's throats. The description is kind of vague and I'm not really sure what to expect from it, but I hear that a lot of people really like it, and I'm kind of avoiding in-depth reviews of it right now because I struggled a little bit with the Atlas 6 because all of the vibes that I was looking for and really wanted was there, but I don't know if the substance was there in the way that I was wanting it to be, and I think some of that might have been the expectations that I was going into it with, and also like comparing it, like in my mind the comp title was like The Secret History, which is making a statement about academia and about individual personalities and charisma and like all of that shit. And it's one of my favorite books, and so there was kind of no way that the Atlas 6 was able to live up to that. But I really did enjoy her ideas and like the concepts, and the vibes and like aspects of the execution were really well done, really fun. So I'm kind of hesitant, but wanting to give it another shot. I want to give Olivie Blake another try because I can see that like how this book might work for me. We're gonna give it a go. And finally, number 13 on this list is Caraval. Number 13, one of the least spooky books probably. I think everybody and their mother has read this book at this point. But I really wanted to have something that was going to be a little bit fun. I also know that my work is going to be super busy and I just don't always have like the mental capacity for really intense or really heavy books when that's that case. I know that a lot of other people really like the sequel series, Once Upon a Broken Heart or something like that. But of course that's like the sequel series, so there's spoilers for the first series, and I'm thinking if I really like the sequel series then I need to read the first series so that I can read it without the spoilers. So, you know, that's the thing. As I understand it, Once Upon a Broken Heart is about two sisters who live with kind of an abusive father, I believe, or like just a father that like really keeps them isolated on this little island. And they have always wanted to attend this, I think it's like performance art or like performance of some kind with audience involvement show thing called Caraval. One of them gets kidnapped and the other one like gets an invite. And it turns out that the sister who was kidnapped by the organizers of this big show, and the first person who finds her is the winner. I'm thinking it's gonna be kind of like the second task in the fourth Harry Potter book where Harry has to like get the gillyweed and go down into the water and like save Ron. And he's like not sure if this is just a game or if his friend is like actually gonna die, because she has this like fear, especially as things go on and on and on, that there's a much greater chance that this is a permanent kidnapping or disappearance, or that her sister is going to come to some kind of significant harm in playing this game. So I think that could be really fun. I think that's also a trilogy, or at least a duology. Yeah, I hear a lot of really good things about it. So I'm excited to give it a shot. And that concludes my fall TBR. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have read any of the books on this TBR and what your thoughts were, and if you want to read any of the books on this TBR as well, because it's always super fun to get hyped to get there. And also, if you have any fall teas or like beverages, any kind of beverages, let me know, because usually I drink mango spice, but I'm currently out of that right now and I really would like to try something new, and I'm getting a little bit sick of matcha because I've been drinking it obsessively for the last like 6 months. So hit me up with your favorite teas and your favorite books for fall. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day, evening, sleep, dishwashing, whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.